Samura. Samura. You still have a daughter to raise, Samura! What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do it too. Have it on me and keep it on me at all times. You know, fun fact. Yeah! That's gonna be clean! Hold on! Let me cook. But wait a second. Of course, you know what time it is. It's Kagurabachi time, aka peak every week time, aka you know we are the reason. And you know what? Usually, I'd always say I'm excited, right? My toes are curled. Admittedly, they were actually curled right now. Feels a little bit weird because they're kind of cold. But regardless, I'm excited. Yet I'm bored. Like, here's the thing. I think even with me huffing the thickest, meatiest, fattiest, juiciest cans of copium known to man, in my heart of hearts, in the back of this mind, I think I always kind of knew that Samura was gonna go. Like I mentioned it in the video where I was coping for him, right? He is very much a Jiraiya theme behind character. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's kind of his digi-destiny, bro. But I was huffing copium. So, like, I'm mentally prepared for him to fry himself, especially now that I do remember, shout out to Evan who reminded me of the idea of anything black, whether it be black flames, black lightning, black in general in Kagurabachi is a sign of life. And the sign of the burning of life. And it's why Soga in particular is so powerful with Magatsumi, because while he's not taking his own life, he's taking the literal lives of others. So, now I do understand the significance of the black flames. Yeah, Samura is literally staking his own life. Or at least giving it up. Hopefully it's taking it, because he still does have a daughter to raise, but like, Yuri, how do you feel about having no parents? That's kind of how I'm feeling. But regardless, let's not waste more time. Let's hop right into chapter 110 of Kagurabachi, which is known as a swordsman. Alright? Blug, 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 flicker? Alright. This black power, it's like the other one. The power that transcends the threshold of death. But the Tobimune was still intact. This time, it's different. The sensation. Yeah, oh, well, there you go. Mr. Samura was staking his own life. Okay. So, yeah, so this blug is truly Chihiro's heart being made together. The black flames are coming off of N10 right now, or at least the remains of N10. They are confirming Chihiro's gonna be fine, right? And I'll be honest, what got me more in the previous chapters, 108 specifically, wasn't really Chihiro being stabbed through the heart. I'm sorry, Hokuto Sensei is insane, crazy, next level devious, diabolical, but he's already faked me out once with Chihiro's death. And who knows, maybe third time will be the charm or something, but like, Chihiro's gonna be fine. I was genuinely for a second there though thinking N10 was fried. Not gonna like I saw N10 get cut in half, and I'm like, oh, he's getting a new sword. He's getting a new sword. But no, it looks like everyone and their mama, and there was a lot of people calling it. So for everyone who picked up that phone and dialed that number, I hope Hokuto Sensei picked up the other end for y'all, because y'all did call a reforging arc, right? Or like an amplify, essentially something to do with the N10 being upgraded by Chihiro using his blacksmithing side, or reinforced, or something. Now, I'm actually very interested to see how this is gonna go. Like, I'm assuming it's gonna be like a Demon Slayer, Tanjiro, and Rengoku thing, specifically with N10. Because, like, unless he takes maybe just like a piece, the little chunk of the blade that's left, breaks it off, and then melts that down, I doubt he's gonna destroy the hilt. So, maybe it's gonna get a new blade, but the hilt itself will stay the same. But even though it looks like a piece of the hilt is disintegrating, but it looks like the disintegration has been stopped by the Black Flame. And apparently, I don't know, I'm hearing mixed things on this. Not N10. Cloud Gouger's still around, it's just dead. In fact, hold on. I'm going to do something a little bit silly Billy of me. But we all have fun being silly Billies. But, with that being the case, the idea that I heard was the idea that Cloud Gouger may be used as the basis for a quote-unquote, like, resurrection of... Let's see, it was around when I started reviewing Kagurabachi, which was like around 32, so it's probably around 35. But essentially, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, I saw this one specifically in my comment section. I'm not sure if they created themselves or if they heard from somewhere. But specifically, I saw the idea of Cloud Gouger being like used to evolve the fish of N10, because there's a very famous, I'm not sure if it's a proverb or a story or a lesson or a tale of some sort, but essentially, hold on. 10 disposable life earned. It's all used up now. Yeah, we'll be fine. Okay. It's all used up now. But it doesn't disintegrate. Yeah. It's all used up now, but it does not disintegrate. Oh, wait, no. It does. It does. Okay. So it's gone. Never mind. So then they were just saying, okay, so that comment was incorrect. I'm glad. See, I won't even go into the theory then. I mean, obviously, I'll go into a part of the theory that I think could still linger true even without Cloud Gouger being actually used for it. But a theory was, since Cloud Gouger has association with dragons and goldfish, and I'm not sure if it's a Japanese mythology thing, a Japanese folklore thing, something. Essentially, koi fish, or just fish in general, turn into dragons after a while. So so someone had mentioned the idea that, oh, if Cloud Gouger's still around, then bada bing, bada boom, he can like melt down Cloud Gouger, melt down the remains of N10, mix them together, and have the goldfish, the 3 goldfish that make up N10, evolve into dragons. That concept could still exist, but it is true that the Cloud Gouger is just gone. It turned to dust in chapter 37. So I don't know where they got the idea that it's still around, but bada bing, bada boom, it is gone now. And then he pulls out N10 by the end of 37. So, with it being the case, I'm intrigued for N10 and Chihiro's future, but obviously, right here, right now, it's not enough. Which is a good thing, unironically, because it does hardly confirm we got, like, it's at least I don't want to say just JJK length. It really depends on where the narrative goes from here. Because ultimately, Kagurabachi is a narrative full of so many open plot threads that it could go on for just another 100 chapters, but I could easily see another 200. I could see Kagurabachi easily hitting 300, depending on how they pace it out, how much we get from the other 2 sword bearers, and also a big question now, with, the current state of affairs, if Samura lives or dies. I think that still is definitely up in the air. But let's see. Iori. Oh man, poor Iori. Like, I did forget though, where is she? I'm assuming Samura just didn't take her. I remember when Samura, way back when, many chapters ago now, was like, hey, don't worry, I'll take us right there. I thought he was going to bring everybody. But no, at least it looks like he left Iori, because I don't think there were any trees in the city they were fighting in. So, bada bing, bada boom. Let's see. Oh, I won't let anyone die, even though I have the N10, because I'm weak as a swordsman. I failed. Here's the thing, right? I wouldn't say Chihiro is weak as a swordsman. I would say specifically I keep saying it, but it's true. He ran into the final boss too early. Right? Like it's not even his fault. That like, well, to be fair, none of Chihiro's situation is his fault. But like, in the specific idea of getting N10 broken, getting diffed again, nearly dying, I guess putting someone in a position where he has to go full Black Flame mode, all this is Chihiro's fault. That man was put in the worst scenario ever by the Hishaku. Of course, you could definitely argue maybe if Samura was a bit more locked in specifically against Yura, this entire scenario could have been avoided, right? Because if Yura's slain with the Magasumi in hand, then ultimately Soga can never escape. And of course, there still is the lingering plot thread of Yura being Soga and Soga presumably being Yura at this point. So, like, I don't know how that's going to go. But regardless, outside of that specific interaction, maybe, none of this is Chihiro's fault. I wouldn't say he failed. I'd say life moved too fast. I think of it like this, right? Just because you do not have this skill set required for a job you were not ready for does not mean that you are now permanently a failure, or even you messed up in getting that job. You didn't have the toolkit for it yet, bruv. You need to wait a little bit longer. And Chihiro, he had like the basis general idea of the tools kit with N10 being able to combat the Magasumi's life drain, but like outside of that, he wasn't ready. So I think it is fine. Oh, but it does look like a lot of the hilt regenerated. So yeah, and the basis of N10 will still be there. And the blade itself will just likely have to be reforged fully by Chihiro. That's gonna be interesting. I wonder who's going to help him with that. I know one of the bladesmiths runs a sushi shop, but I think that's. I'm not sure if we have any other like crafter characters outside of Chihiro. But let's see. Hold on. Wait, in fact, he has interesting. Well, no, not interesting. He wields it backhand side. But yo, look at the Samura said. If I'm gonna go out, if it's really gonna be like this, when it be like this sometimes. Let me at least post up with some aura. And he posted up with some aura. I see you, Samura. Interesting that the flames are like specifically covering one side of his face, though. I wonder if that's meant to mean anything visually and symbolically. I think maybe it's the idea of one eye trapped to the journey of the past, or my brain said journey of the past. Was about to go journey to the west, but that doesn't make any context either. But essentially, one half of Samura is like still tied down and weighed by the past. He's still technically blinded by it. But one eye is now at least looking towards the future. And now it is the past's burden to prepare the future for the strongest of the past, I suppose, if I'd hazard a guess. Because I think it was also like that last chapter where one eye of Samura was like either partially obscured or massively obscured. Let's say. Black flames, fanned by the spark of life. Very, you know what? Now that it's been brought up, if once again, I don't want to put him in the grave. I don't want to put him a foot in the grave before he gets there. But considering he's digging it up right now, might as well. If there's one evolution I expect from Iori, if she's going to get her hands on Tobimune somehow, once again, if Samura loses this fight, I have no idea how they recover Tobimune. I genuinely don't know. It's kind of like the same thing when Samura first got Kumiyori, where like I have no idea how Yuri was gonna get that blade back. Now I don't even know where Samura kept Kumiyori, but like now there's a possibility that Hiriko could get the blade back. So I think that'll be fine. But my main question here, or my main idea here, is that if Iori is the one to get the hands on the blade, right? You know, legacy figure filling off the future and stuff like that. Fulfilling the will of the past and evolving from the past. I think a main thing she'll be able to do, very specifically, is access the black flames, but like in a positive sense, more so like a collaboration, right? Because we know that the power of the Magatsumi is black because it takes the lives of others. We know that Suzaku's current flames are black because of Samura, you know, lighting, essentially pulling a Final Shine Escanor, or Frank Zhang from Heroes of Olympus, very specifically Son of Neptune. Because by like Trials of Apollo gets Recon, he doesn't even care about the wood anymore. But regardless, he's pulling a that, right? He's letting his own lifespan on fire. I'm assuming Iori's evolution will be something about like either like the people's faith being a fuel to burn, and since that still technically is tied to people and their hopes, like that's gonna create a black flame, or other people they can like spirit bomb it to her, right? Where they can lend their life force and then she can concentrate it. Because right now, as good as Summer's ability is, it does rely on his own internal power to achieve the black flame level, and it just doesn't have that level outside of that. Let's see. Fed by the spark of life. I don't know why, like, I get why it is, though. It's clearly meant to signify, what's going on here? It's to show how powerful Summer's ears are, but there's something hilarious about going from this insanely aura farming panel to, my ears going off. Let's see. Oh, okay, I was about to say, wait, what's going on there? I recognize Shiba, I did not recognize Azami. Azami! The effect covers everything in the range of Samura's awareness. Its power surpasses the Magatsumi's. Oh! Well, you know what, though? I bet that's probably, like, it's interesting what you can stack in this universe, and this is clearly an example of it. Because Samura is so tied to the blade, he's likely in the true realm already. And then he's like doubling down into the blade. Like if we're talking gambling terms, he's like tripling down onto what he actually wants the blade to do and is giving it his all. So the blade, which is already in its true realm, and Samura being a master of his true realm, is like, oh, well, we weren't gonna touch that, but and then it's just devouring everything, and that's why it's best in Magatsumis. It's the power of the individual, the power of oneself, willingly giving themselves up for the sake of something greater. Meanwhile, Soga's like, hey, you're out? Goes there, bro. And just slips him down. Even interesting, even Soga's like, dot. Up, but Shiba sees Soga. I do want, like, obviously we're probably gonna get it, but I'll still say it anyway. One thing I don't want to say need, but one thing I really want in Kagurabachi, it doesn't need to be like full hidden inventory length or anything like that. I don't need it to be like, what? How long was it in the inventory? Like, it was already 20 chapters. No, you're not 20 chapters. I think it was like 12 to 15. But hidden inventory JDK is a very, very long set of events. But if there's one thing I want a Soga and Kunishige flashback. Possibly a Possibly a Kunishige, Soga, Shiba, Azami flashback. Because we know that, at least, well, it may be a friend of my friend situation, but we know that Rokuhira was with both Shiba and Azami when they were, I believe, college age. And we know that Soga ultimately, at least is described, maybe that's by the papers, maybe that's by the propaganda, maybe it's not by the lore, maybe it's not by Kunishige himself, but we do know that the Sword Saint, the wielder of the Magatsumi, Akimoto Soga, he was Kunishiki's most trusted ally, right? Like, and it wasn't, I'm not gonna say it wasn't close, but like, for him to clearly make such a statement, obviously, it would be interesting to see him, who has taken all the power for himself, to move forward in the way that he sees fit, to deal with a group of people who are inspired by a man who was inspired by another man that happened to be the first man's father. Let's see. The Makatsumi's powers are... Oh, wait, no, not powers. The Makatsumi's flowers are burning up. The victims are recovering. Hey, what happened? So, have you ever tried playing with the Manga with your life on the line, bro? Because I have! And to be fair, he definitely has. Let's see. Samura. Now that Shiba does say it, though, I do genuinely wish, if this is to be Samura's end, right? I wish we got more time with him, specifically interacting with other characters. Very specifically, Shiba, Azami, stuff like that. I get why not, though. Because unfortunately, Samura, like, now I think about it, just in the grand scheme of things, now that I'm reflecting on Samura as a character, his narrative placement is, like, super tight. Like, he's always doing something, and when he's not doing something, the gap in between, he was the main villain. So it makes sense why we don't actually have too many dynamics with him. He's the only, like, concrete dynamics he has with any of our named characters. In, heck, realistically, the only connection he has with our main class is Chihiro. That's about it. He doesn't really have any dynamics or bonds with anyone. Obviously, also his own daughter. But I would actually love to know what Shiba actually thinks about Samura, considering, you know, the whole war thing, but let's see. The Makasumi's flowers are burning up. The victims are recovering. What happened? Azami, don't ask me questions. Let's see. Samura. Based on your judgment, countless people who don't deserve it have to die. No, that's your judgment. And, but you know what? I will give Akimura this in particular. Because he respects Samura, and even it did end up respecting Shiro to a degree. He's like, hey, I understand here and respect your opinion by letting you get it off, essentially. Because obviously, Akimura has no reason to let anyone get it off unless he wants them to, or is allowing them to. So, it is, once again, interesting to see the base, and look at what I mentioned earlier, right? This consistent. In fact, is this panel reused? This panel reused? Hold on. This panel reused? I think this panel's reused. I think this is the same. I was about to go into like the whole symbolism thing. Exact same panel? Yeah, exact same panel. Smart work by Hokuzono Sensei. I don't blame him for panel reuse. It's just always interesting to catch it. I know now I'm seeing it so much with Hokuzono Sensei, I need to pay more attention to other series too. There's no way it's just Hokuzono Sensei who does it. But I do like how we are truly sticking not just to this obviously being a big bad battle, but also specifically a battle of ideals, right? Ideals, perspectives, and judgment. Ultimately, right now, all Akimura is a man with an opinion and the ability to make that opinion the reality for everybody else. Samura has his own view. He has his own opinion, but right now, or at least seemingly, maybe these black flames will up until the point, but at least for this moment, he didn't really, or up until this point, he didn't really have the power to even begin to question Akimura's ideology, logistically or power-wise. Ultimately, in Akimura's eyes, might definitely does seem to make right, and in this case, there's nothing Samura could do to right him, since Akimura is so much more mighty. But now, clearly, Samura is viewed as a possible, if not equal, because highly I am is equal to Soga right now in verse, but at least someone whose ideals are worth directly denouncing in a way that Soga hasn't really done so far for anyone, except, obviously, the two characters he interacted with. Let's see. The Mangatsumi's power to consume life focuses entirely on one man. Okay. But you know what? That goes to show a true level of respect. Again, see, that's the thing. That's the thing I love about Soga. As crazy, as next level, as monstrous, as devious and diabolical as that man is, he is mad respectful. Where he's like, hey, I'll give it, now that you're giving me your all, I will readily give you mine. He is respecting someone to the utmost degree, to focus the entirety of the Mangatsumi, right? When he was in the middle, the last chapter literally ends with him being like, hey, starting to purge of all the common hobby won't be useful to me. Let's see if I can figure that out. Now, he's giving someone to respect. He sees the black flames. He sees his life on the line. He sees everything. And he's like, oh, okay. I'm going to do everything in my power to get rid of you specifically now. Do I think that Samura's really a threat to Soga? Not really. I still think the best move for Chihiro and crew is to still run. Like, I don't think sticking around is good. But at the same time, I do give credit to Samura specifically, who would be existing for the stalling in case for everyone to escape. I do like that Akimura's like, fine, I'll give you everything if you want everything so bad. I can't spread everything out. You won't be able to spread anything out either. But let's say, oh, hey, okay, so okay, my glorious, handsome, legendary Jutsu King Natsuki is alive. Uruha seems to be basically the exclamation point seemingly coming from here. Ura's alive, and he also he's literally lifting his head up. I thought that was a different head. No, this is Ura's head down. Uruha's, I keep saying Ura. Uruha's head down here, so Uruha's fine. This nameless guy's fine. If not nameless, I forget his name. And Natsuki's fine, and Azami's fine. Well, not necessarily fine, but they're like, they aren't being explicitly devoured by the Magatsume anymore, so we'll take whatever fine we can get. But, all that being the case, he's really going to concentrate all that on Samura? Samura, you got a gang? I don't know. He may have your number. Let's see. Before this escape... Wait, hold on. Everyone managed to escape with this without lethal wounds. The rest is up to you, Shiba. So that's interesting. He does at least have enough faith in Shiba to be like, hey, I did my part. I managed to stop anyone else from... Essentially, he is truly living the future hero dream where he's stopping everyone else from perishing, and also going specifically in he himself to take down the Sword Saint, the wielder of the Magatsume, Akimoto Soga. So it's interesting to see Samura like essentially lay his trust out and be like, yeah, I believe you can do this. You got this. The rest is up to you. I managed to do my part in terms of making sure everyone is able to manage. But shockingly enough, though, for the power to consume life focusing entirely on one man, doesn't seem to do all too much, at least not now. But I suppose that's because maybe the Magatsume is confused. Like, it's looking at Samura being like, bro, this guy's like running down a sauce meter. What do you mean you want me to steal from him? And Nakamura's like, steal from him! But let's see. Right. Which is why. In response, Samura applies the full force of his black flames to himself. I mean, that's cool. It's really cool as a counter when it's fighting off the complete life drain of the Magatsume. But it's interesting that he's able to do that, right? Because technically, now he's paying himself to pay for himself, I suppose? Like the extra force and firepower is now all coming from Samura himself exclusively and internally and externally, right? Or before it was a mix, or at least like going to different characters. Him doing that and doing this is now him burning his own life force in order to maintain his own life force against the max life drain of the Magatsume. So since he's leveraging his life, and now that the Magatsume is entirely focused on him, technically since it's not getting anything from him, Magatsume is technically actually nerfed now, and Samura was able to do that. Interesting trade-off. Let's see. I'll reduce you to the brink of death and return you to your dungeon. But hey, that is still very interesting to see. Ultimately, at the end of the day, in spite of knowing everything he does about Akimoto Soga, instead of knowing the dangers that he poses, instead of knowing all that, he specifically says, I'll return you to the brink of death, or reduce you to the brink and return you to your dungeon. Obviously, this still goes to show that even with all of his, well, not even just all of his life, like everyone's lives on the line right now, even still, he doesn't necessarily find himself capable of being the one to strike Soga down, right? He still believes, or at least I assume he believes that job is still for the future, right? Something he can definitely possibly help with, but he himself cannot do anything about, or doesn't feel like it's appropriate for him to, right? He still has this very strong case of guilt about all that he is. I think that's solid and makes sense to see. Let's see. Okay, they both got emotion. Ooh! What is this? Look at this. This is great. Okay. Interesting though. Interesting. I wonder. Now I do wonder if someone's able to fight just fine like this. But like, the thing is though, Soga should still just be better. Like unironically, you should still just be better. So I'm interested to see where this goes now, because they got motion to it, and it's very interesting that they both went back to the ground, right? Like notably, both of these characters can clearly fly. They are two of, if not currently, number 1 and number 2 in the verse, especially at the moment right now. I don't know, with Enten on the ground and Chihiro. I literally said Enten on the ground and Chihiro cut in half. With Chihiro on the ground and Enten cut in half. But in this case, they return back to the ground. And very specifically, it's interesting to see how they approach each other now. Samura goes in from from beneath, and Akimoto comes down from on high. So this like display of what they are realistically and what they were before, right? Akimoto Soga being capable, more than what Samura can handle, and Samura still being threatening enough, but not enough to reach Soga. So far, gassy, why the film be gassy? As peak and as gas as this panel is, I still think it goes to show that Akimoto is. He's still not there's still not enough hope here, which is why I'm hoping that if Samura truly is putting it all on the line here, if he's putting it all on black in terms of betting up for the future, I hope the future actually leaves, so the future doesn't, get absolutely eviscerated real quick and treated even worse. We'll say. So they swing. All right. But darn. So they did come back to the ground for a basis, or like a restance, but essentially they're still destroying everything around them. Seems legit. Let's see. The power to annihilate life, counteracted by the marginally stronger power to restore all life. What remains are 2 sword fighters. Okay. So essentially, but the thing is though, to be fair though, he was still using a good chunk of Suzaku in his own power without like upping it to the extreme like he was, or like he is now. But it is interesting to see that at this point, now that Suzaku is at a point where it can neutralize or even overpower the Magatsumi, they are now back to the same basis that they were before, and Akimoto Soga still is that monstrous, right? A big important thing, and something I was talked about in the last review, is that just because Shiro could have hard countered the Magatsumi pretty effectively, as he did with what little he had, that was not really full invitation to go run Soga's fade, right? Because ultimately, Soga himself, he wasn't just the master Magatsumi user. He wasn't just the Magatsumi saint, the Shinuchi saint. No, he was the sword saint. Like, the man was monstrous, specifically within his designation as a sword bearer and sword wielder. So yeah, obviously there were levels to it in that sense. And even when stripped down to nothing but swordsmanship, it's clear that Akimoto Soga was just leagues above his nephew. It's not even really a close comparison here. And I don't know, from what we saw before when Samura was put in the all physical scenario, it didn't seem like it'd be good for him too, but let's see. What remains are 2 sword fighters, dueling with only their raw bodies, returning to the point of origin. Yo, the Kagurabachi narrative, bro. I'm telling you, nothing but straight bucket. That's crazy. But that's interesting. It's really like when I think about how their last battle ended, when it was supposedly just their pure bodies, and specifically the Magatsumi wasn't really interfering. Soga still did put Samura on his back. Like, he still did do it. Though notably, I don't think he used this style. I don't even think he used his, like, not necessarily falsy eye, like traditionally eye style. No, I think he did just meet Samura head on. But I do like the idea that in this instance, now that Samura has wagered his life, now that he's put that on the line, he can almost now truly meet with the sword saint, right? Once again, going with the idea of this being a battle of ideals and a battle of perspectives. I think the important thing is that while Samura was technically staking his life before, as he was fighting a man who could end his life at any moment, I think now that he and his blade are on the same page. Now he and the triple are like, alright, we going for this? We're really going for this? Just want to make sure. Triple way verification. Alright. They've come to this consensus, and now all essentially any deficit that once existed in skill or strength or anything like that, it's all wiped away. Especially now that the full power of Suzaku is being focused on himself, right? As he says, he applies the full force of the Black Flames to himself. Luckily enough, with all that raw power being focused on him, everything is at peak physical form. He's not fighting the Manga. Well, technically, he's still fighting the Manga. In fact, he's doing just that now. But he's able to do it and manage better. So I'm assuming that's going to end up putting us in a position where he could actually compete. And this definitely does make me wish that we got a little bit more of Mitsuki, I think. It's Natsuki's brother's name, because we know that in terms of swordsmanship, apparently Samura's only peer was the original wielder of Cloud Gouger, Mitsuki, Misaka. I'm pretty sure they were like considered to be equals in terms of swordsmanship. And I do wonder if they were both here and someone's still putting on this performance on, would they be able to take down Soga? Because I still don't think Samura's going to take Soga down, but I'm interested to see how much this man, dueling with only his raw body, returning to his point of origin, how much can he do to Soga, right? Last chapter, or realistically the chapter before that, it was chapter 108, kind of showed us already that Soga definitely is touchable. That is an important thing to note, especially considering he isn't always tweaking out at full power all the times. The man still is touchable, he still is fallible, he still is mortal. I think that's very important to know. But I'm very interested to see, like, how far from mortality are we going to place him? Are we going to place him at, like, I feel like Madara is a good comparison, because, like, he started off really beyond humanity, and he's getting more and more and more beyond humanity. So are we going to talk about, like, reanimated Madara? Are we going to talk about fresh, brought back to life, blind Madara? Are we talking about Jubidara? Like, what level of, oh no, this guy's beyond literally anything and everything, are we going to put Soga at? I don't know. I'm smelling reanimated, not even reanimated Madara. I'm smelling Madara one Rinnegan back after being revived properly. What's it? Yep, and once again, the idea that even right now, the wound that Akimura has from Shihiro is still there. It's like he is still fallible. And I think that is, as much as I'm like, oh, obviously, Chihiro's not going to be able to do anything against him right now. Obviously, Chihiro's going to need to get the run back later. Obviously, he ran into the final boss too early. I've been saying this consistently now. I do think it is very important that Chihiro was able to land a hit at all. Is it a shallow hit? Yeah. It's barely noticeable. Almost. Does it necessarily matter on the grand scheme of things, considering how viciously he got low tipped the second Soga tried? A bit. And I do mean a bit, with like a capital B, bit. Not necessarily. It's not the best, but it is something. And I think that's very important. That something happened. Something was taken. Akimoto Soga was forced to feel something from Chihiro, without question. I think that's very important. And I think now, once again, since the powers of the Mogatsume are cut off, and now he's probably, for the first time, feeling that wound, the only wound he's received so far, it probably is hitting with him a little bit. Like, oh, this future that Mr. Summer's betting on, it's not ready now. But there's something there. There's the idea of like, oh, he's got potential. Man. Let's see. Ever since he was entrusted with the Shinichi at the... Wait, no. Ever since he was entrusted with the Shinichi Enchanted Blade at age 18, every duel became an execution. I mean, yeah, I'm assuming because he had the blade and then immediately went to slaughter everybody and then was put in jail. Let's see. Just like the old days. But, and you know, that's very interesting, right? He says that, but note how he doesn't smile. It's like Soga, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm meat riding a little bit too. But Soga's such a Soga's such a fascinating character. Specifically, the idea that he is. It's very hard to tell how much of Soga's like stone iron wall idealism comes from like a genuine want to enforce it, and more so like oh, this is kind of just my role, and thusly I must fulfill my role. No matter how much I even personally believe in it. Like, clearly he wiped out the whole nation of sovereign people and sentient people, and is willing to wipe out more for the sake of his nation. But, like, it's the idea of, like, when does the indoctrination for one's own nation stop and, like, the person begin? It'd be one thing if he was smiling about this or excited that it's just like the old days, but he seems so resigned. Like, it sounds weird to say, but it's not like he's having fun. I think that's the most important thing. He's not smiling or tweaking and geeking about what he has to do. He's just like, I have to do it. And that's interesting to see. Let's see. Alright. Shing, shing. Alright. Okay, going straight for the thrust. Shit! Okay. Interesting, though. So Samura, even in spite of the amp, he's still clearly on the defensive. Soga essentially, and see, that's so cool too. I love how he calls Samura's bluff, right? Like ultimately, now that Samura's even the playing field again, they're right back in the situation when they were fighting in the building in a way. Where Soga's like, fine, you put me in the scenario that is somewhat compromising, but what can you do about it though? How you gonna react? And he just and I love the idea that specifically he goes straight, like he just goes straight for Samura's head, right? Like notably, the head is a very like relative to the torso, even for Samura who has a relatively lean build. It is much smaller, right? And it's why Samura is able to at least somewhat react here, or not even somewhat. He does react and manage to avoid the Magasumi as he gets cut a little bit. But there's that idea that's almost like prove it. It's the idea of like, now I don't gamble, but I do play games that involve any sort of like decision making. So it's kind of like calling your opponent's bluff in any game ever, right? Like, do you think your opponent's actually gonna hit the button? If you don't think they are, call their bluff. And if you do think they are, call a bluff. like literally just go for it anyway. Do I think X opponent's gonna click protect in Pokemon? If they are, hit the button. If they are, hit the button. Like it goes for a spread move. Like there are certain things where you take the possibility of what could be, and you go with it anyway, simply to kind of see what your opponent's metal is. And Akimoto Soga clearly tested Samura's metal, and Samura did manage to react a bit, but it does look like Akimura, just the insane madman that he is, tested the metal, brought an answer out of Samura. Samura goes in for a reaction, and then it looks like Samura just entirely whiffs, because Soga fully, like he almost, this is very interesting, he falls into this flip that he does here. He almost, it's like, funnily enough though, because he ends up, looks like he turns left, and looks like he the man swung his body to the side, but like he legit takes the force he thrusted with, since he whiffed and Samura like slightly guided and redirected it. He specifically throws himself forward, and it looks like barrel rolls in midair in order to avoid Samura's slash entirely. Oh, and not even just avoid Samura's slash entirely. He even gets a slash off. So that's interesting. So he dives forward. Samura is barely able to react, block, and go in for a counter. Notably, using and seemingly still entirely his own momentum, he then Akimura seemingly mid-flip, right? Like he throws himself seemingly front left ways. He then if he doesn't flip the Magatsume in his grip, he takes the idea that Samura's face was close enough because he blocked it, right? Samura doesn't dodge the Magatsume. He blocks it. And Akimura straight, like he almost, with the flick of the wrist, he just slashes his face right open. That's crazy. Let's see. Oh. Even though their force was slightly greater than the outset, Samura's flames didn't have the capacity to heal his existing wounds. You think you can take me on wounded? You're not a fool. Mr. Samura, you knew how this would end. And that is... And this once again goes to the idea of how much of this is Soga how much of this is him just going on with what he feels like should be true based on how he was indoctrinated. Because notably, it's not like, it's still, in this instance, it doesn't seem like he's taking pleasure in doing this. He's like, dude, you're in the way. You're in the way. You know what happens if you get in the way. You could have escaped. You could have let your daughter live. Heck, you could help me. Why are you doing this? You knew how this would end. Why are you... Essentially, it's a good comparison I feel like most people understand. It's the idea of going up against someone who you know is better than you, and they ask you why you're doing it. Essentially both of you in the dynamic are like, I know that you're greater at me in this specific aspect you're challenging me to. Why would you do it? Why would you waste your time like this? And in Samura's essential ideal, I didn't even realize he didn't just slash his face open, he slashed his finger off too. So, oh yeah, he's gonna be holding not even his finger seemingly slash 3 fingers off. But it is one of those cases where Soga he's doing it, but he's very confused on almost why he's doing it. So let's see. As for the enchanted blade you're depending on, you managed to stop it from turning to dust, but you don't have the capacity to regenerate it. You're the last bastion. And that is true, right? Like, right now, it is truly, as far as we know, Samura for the world. Or not the world, but at least, like, the nation as we know it. It's if Samura fails here, it's it. And we're presumably heading into an entirely new arc. Let's see. You're the last bastion. What are you struggling for? You're betting on Oh, interesting. I wonder, like how much of this is metaphorical and how much of this is actually happening now that, like, essentially consuming and rebirthing each other. Let's say, what are you struggling for? You're betting on the future. What do you expect to see from all this? In every way, he's inadequate. That is, you know what? I think it is very important, right? And maybe just because I have a lot of uncles, because I have a large family, and I have a lot of older, like, cousins who might as well be uncles, and sort considering the gap between them. But I do think it is very important to have, specifically, of a familial bond, right? Because obviously people are not your family. They'll point out your flaws all the time. But sometimes you almost need to hear it for someone closer for things to click. And this happened for me many times in life in terms of many of my own beliefs and interactions and flaws and stuff like that. But I like, ultimately, that even though Akimoto Soga is a monster, a beast, a creature, he's not wrong. In terms, well, I think he's wrong in terms of his, like, mentality and belief system, and this, that, and the third, and ideology. I think he's a brainwashed dog. But in terms of, specifically, his judgment of Chihiro, he's not incorrect. Chihiro isn't enough. He is inadequate in terms of his mastery over Enten. He is inadequate in terms of his raw physical strength. He is inadequate in terms of his swordplay skill. He's inadequate in every way. He truly is that. And Akimoto Soga, despite loving Chihiro as that is his blood nephew, he's like, no, he's not good enough. I specifically remember specifically not one of my actual uncles, but it was one of my elder cousins who was critiquing me on my ability to do a specific thing. I think it was something, it was either science or math related. They saw me working on my homework once and were like, you're not as cut out for this. I think you are. And I was like, why did you do this to me? But they were right, and I had to lock in and take it a little bit more seriously. And you almost need that. It is interesting to see Akimoto be genuinely objective, but coming from Akimoto's mouth, the apex of the verse, everything sounds a bit insulting when realistically he's just stating the truth. Let's say, every way, he's inadequate. I do like seeing the... Oh, let's see, this screams death flag, bro. Let's see. Hey, ever since you were tiny, your life was devoted to the sword. At 18, you'd already achieved mastery. Yeah, so he was so in this was something that is interesting. I do want more context on... Is Akimoto's first name or Soga's first name? I do want more context on the Soga clan. Like, I do wonder what his history is, and, like, why he was raised from birth, essentially, as a weapon, ever since he was tiny. So, essentially, ever since he could hold a sword, he's been wielding a sword. That's how he attained mastery so young. Not just innate talent, he's also just been training for so long. So, that is interesting. And Samura knows that, particularly. Let's see. I can see how Chihiro would seem inadequate to you. But until 3 years ago, he was forging swords. His life has been fraught with confusion. In every way, he's just getting started. And that literally is like, that's a direct metaphor for Kagurabachi in of itself, right? Like, it's weird to think about, especially considering how much has happened, how many characters we've gone through, how many revivals on top of characters we've gone through. But it does genuinely, as in one moment it can feel like, wow, the series could end right now, kind of, sort of. It does also feel like we're just getting started. Like, think about how long it took for us to get an actual deuteragonist. Hakuri did not exist for a fat chunk of the nerd. Arguably, unless Iori sticks around, we still don't even have a female lead, gosh darn it. Like there's still, obviously there's sword, but there's so much left open. Shirakai Itsuo to actually help Chihiro learn the yaoi purity style properly. Like, there's so many open threads left. And yes, Chihiro is just getting started. And I think it is very interesting to see Samura, someone who, for all intents and purposes, barely knows Chihiro, put his bets on Chihiro more than his own family would. I think that is also true to life, where people you meet that are not tied to you by biology can have a faith in you greater than anyone who actually is tied to you can. It's a very interesting phenomena, but it is very true to form. Let's see. Interesting, but yeah, the N10 has stopped, but he's not regenerating it. Chihiro! Shiba. Oh, Shiba. Oh, Shiba. Let's see. Let's go! The N10. Chihiro! We need to withdraw for Samura's sake. He already... Maybe not. Chihiro, he actually seems... Well, to be fair, I guess now that his heart is restored, he may not be able to move or fight, but he's essentially bearing witness right now. Let's see. Swing. Okay, they're going for another seemingly AI duel. Ooh, what? The shock of both men sheathing their swords sent... Wait, no. The shock of both men sheathing their swords sent rubble flying. The surroundings pulverized by the Magatsumi's destructive power and restored by Tobimune's flames. Okay. And now, as both men draw their swords, the rubble begins to melt from the heat. And within that surreal miasma, they meet at the very apex of swordplay. Yeah, okay. So Chihiro, he's truly bearing witness to what it means to be a swordsman. That's now that these two have been stripped down to nothing but swordplay, even though they're still clearly monsters, right? But they're sheathing their swords so hard that rubble is sent flying, and they're literally melting the area around them from the sheer heat they're producing, even as Tobimune's flames are attempting to restore it. That's crazy. But still, at basis, they are meeting each other in the one area which Chihiro needs to evolve. I mean, to be fair, like, obviously, more than that, he still personally needs to evolve Enten directly in terms of its powers, considering the Magatsumi is basically endless in terms of its abilities. But, in terms of swordplay, the core, the thing that Chihiro lacks years upon years upon years upon years upon years of experience of, bearing witness to this, especially for someone with his eyes, the eyes of a blacksmith, the eyes of an artist, it is probably very important. So, let's see. They meet at the very apex of swordplay. This vision... Wait, no. This vision burns into Chihiro's eyes. I love that. Even she was like, oh no, I gotta let him cook. To prepare for next time. To destroy the Magatsumi and slay Akemura Soga. Wait, that's the end of the chapter! Oh, okay. A very W chapter. A very gas. And you know what? I like this one because it's a great balance of both worlds. Not only does it have just, the crazy, amazing choreography and artwork. This panel in particular, it tickles something in my brain, dog. This panel, and specifically this, like these two pages, they would make the chapter 10 out of 10 gas on their own. But very specifically, I do like how we have this. I mean, it's just especially for Yori, dog. She's not even anywhere nearby. She's essentially about losing daddy again. But, very specifically, I do like the character conflict at the core of it all, right? Akemura Soga has been much more idea than character for a long time now, but to actually see him actualize fully as a character, and to understand what that means, and to see him be handled narratively in the way that he's being handled. Beautiful. To see Akemura not crack a smile this entire chapter. Once again, very much a man on a mission. A man steeped in his own absolution, steeped in his own belief so deeply that he can't even fathom gambling on the future. Very interesting to see. To see Chihiro truly dive in and become a true proper student of the game, if you will. All for the sake of achieving a point where he can clash his ideals against his uncle and transcend him. Beautiful. And very specifically, as much as I really don't like the idea of Samura abandoning his daughter yet, going with the idea that, these things happen, I do even like the idea of Samura putting it all on the line, acting as the one casualty, the one sacrifice, and very specifically, meeting Soga where he is. As the last bastion, as the last hope, as a person who could possibly be better off running away and staying to fight another day, right? But he's here because he's finally been forced to see the future and he's ready to welcome it. Even if that means burning his very life away, he'll do it. All to lay the foundation. This isn't Samura throwing away his life meaninglessly, or not necessarily meaninglessly, but just for the sake of dealing with his own personal guilt. This certainly still does resolve that original plot point and character point of his. But no, this is very specifically Samura burning his life away to begin to put a crack in the foundation that is the history and darkness that is Akemura Soga personified. Akemura Soga is the dark legacy of the nation and the history and the culture behind them. And if there's anyone who could lay the groundwork, who could show Chihiro the way to supremacy, the apex of swords play as it exists right now, it would only be Samura. the one who stood at the apex of swordplay that's still alive, and Akimoto Soga, the sword saint, the being who must be transcended by any means necessary. That, from the character work to the artwork to the action posing to everything, this chapter is just part. This is a 10 chapter. So, if you've been all the way to this video, please do me a favor and leave To Infinity's End. To Infinity's End in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that link to notifications so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you can have a Patreon below. You support me for as low as $1 these things, exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So let's conclude the live reactions here. This series I am to review, ad-free variations of all my videos, early ad-free access to all my videos, early ad-free access to not just all videos here on the main channel, but also the second channel that got reaction link in the description down below. On top of that, you get your name listed at the end of every single video. If you're a $3 member or $3 Patreon or higher, you get your name listed and read aloud at the end of every single video produced, not just over here, but also for the second channel. On top of that, I have my Twitch that I got as a controller, link it down below. If you want to ever roll out with your boy, 8 p.m. Fridays, 8 p.m. on Friday at 8 p.m. EST. We do have a wonderful time over there playing Silksong, may do Pokemon Showdown, because I talk about Pokemon so much I want to play some Showdown on stream. And on top of that, I do have my co-filing down below. If you want to drop 5 minutes or a short video, 20 minutes long video, any means at all, any support is always greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dag on the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, J2MA, Gyomi, Buddha Uda, Yuki Ally, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Magic, CCC, Dino, Hector Gonzalez, Tim Thomas, Keving, Julian Perez, RXN, Nevis97, Logan Guzman, Dead Meme, Keon Stewart, Donovan McIntosh, Hamza Idrisi, BNA DNA, Edwin Idbignoba, Straw, Athenzi Shear, Antavius Mitchell, Azo2404, Superflame Zero, Weary Exile, Window Life, Alex Kenny, Victor Jacobs, Todd, The Practical One, Landon Clapwick, Heath Nelson, C.A.E.T., Funny Dude, Jagoda, Plant Crone, Striker Man, Brandon Payne, Black Sage, Multi-Batman Superman, Ramondo Furin, Zalims, Enzo, Union I Metatron, Sheesh King, Joe Bean, Aswin Heriprasetya, Sleepin' John, JMB, KD, and the Young Family, Pastel Pandora. Then, ladies, thank you to Artline Art Tier patrons: A+A, Kevin Encarnacion, Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Karina Hernandez, and Lil Kodo. Then, ladies, thank you to our Inc. Tier members: King RTX and Shrimpo the 4th Shrimp 06, along with Zom. And then, ladies, thank you to our Digital Art Tier members: J Warrior, AZ Void, and Valden Nissen. And I'd like to give a final thank you to our Colored Art Tip patrons: Walkie Munoz, and Aernesto902 at gmail.com.